stay. And while Jaime trots around the corner, and they whisk him around the corner, and they say, "What happened? What did you do?" He says, "Nothing. I didn't do a thing." "Well, how did you win?" He says, I don't know. He says, "The Jews are leaving Rome." I said, "Nothing doing. We're staying." So he said, "Fuck you." I said, "Fuck you twice." And he pulled his lunch out, and I pulled out mine. That's how Charlemagne became a great writer, and that's the second secret of the Illuminati.
The next secret of the Illuminati comes in the form of a parable. When my wife and I decided to get married, we had a bit of a problem. We couldn't decide where to get married. We couldn't think of any church we didn't have vehement and vigorous objections to. And we felt even less positive energy towards City Hall at the time. And so there didn't seem to be any place to go to get married, and yet it seemed like a good idea at the time. Like the guy from El Paso took off all of his clothes and jumped in a cactus bush, and they asked him later why he did it, and he said, "Well, it kind of seemed like a good idea at the time." And that's why most people, that's the fourth secret of the Illuminati. That's why it explains all human behavior without exception. It's the one psychological law you can absolutely depend on. Whatever anybody did, it seemed like a good idea to them at the time. So anyway, we decided to get married, only we didn't know where to get married. We finally ended up with a Buddhist church on the grounds that we found less reprehensible in Buddhism than any other religion we knew anything about. We were very young then. This is a long time ago, back in the late devouring period of the Precambrian or something. And this was before the 60s. This was before this was... very few people here remember those far-off days, the thundering hooves of the great horse Silver and all that. Anyway, we decided. So we went to this Buddhist church, and we had a ceremony partly in Sanskrit, partly in English, and partly in Japanese, which suited me fine, because the more mysterious it was, the more married I felt. And there came a point where we were asked in English to swear our faith in the Buddha, which we both did. We thought he was a cool cat. And then we were supposed to swear our faith in the Dharma, and we did that too because we understood a little bit about the Dharma, and that seemed like real heavy stuff. And then he asked us to swear our faith in the Shanghai, and we looked at each other, and we looked at him, and we swore our faith in the Shanghai, and after a little bit of more ceremony, the wedding was over, and we got out on the steps of the church, and we looked at each other. We said, "What the hell is the Shanghai?" Well, we had just sworn our faith in the Shanghai without knowing what it was, and it took me about 20 years of rambling around through various careers and lifestyles and lives and reincarnations and deaths and rebirths before I finally got back into Buddhism deeply enough to find out what the Shanghai is, and it turns out it's the Far Eastern name for the Illuminati. I had sworn my faith in them without knowing about it, and the bastards haven't left me alone since then. So the next lesson is be careful what you put your faith in. They'll get you sooner or later. They're always there. And no matter what happens, if the ceiling fell in, the Illuminati would still be with me. I can't escape them any more than Ignatius Loyola could escape the Virgin Mary, or Betty Hill can escape that UFO contact she had back in 1958. It's still haunting her. She's got a landing pad for UFOs now she's built. Some things you can't get away from. And the final secret of the Illuminati, is one of my favorite writers once wrote, is that you don't know you're a member until it's too late to get out. It's your turn.
Okay. Daryl Zanuck. We're in the studio now. Had a guy working in the studio who was not only a very good director but also a part-time barber. He used to cut people's hair around the studio, and Zanuck went in one day, and he had his hair cut by this guy, Jim, and he happened to have a large emerald in his pocket, and just on a whim, he took it out and showed it to him. It was several hundred carats. It was an enormous, beautiful piece. Jesus Christ! Where did you get that? Oh, he said, this Maharaja's visiting the studio the last couple of days, and anybody does him a favor, he just gives him a stone. He liked me, he gave me an emerald. God, he said, you suppose you can get him in here? I'll give him a haircut. He said, I'll see what I can do. So the next day, Zanuck hired an actor at a central casting. Came in. So this is Maharaja so. And, oh, very glad to meet you. So, would you like me to cut your hair? Oh, he said, I wouldn't think of it. I could not allow it. You see, it is against the law of Islam, unless, of course, you are a Muslim. No, he said, I'm not. Well, then it's impossible. Well, but I could become one. So, very well. And he put him through an elaborate, unbelievable ceremony. And he said, now you're a Muslim, you can cut my hair, give me trim. So he cut his hair, and the Maharaja thanked him profusely and began to walk out. Is there anything else I can do? But maybe a massage. What? The body is even more sacred. And then the hair, I could not possibly, unless, of course, you were willing to go through another ceremony. And he groveled on the ground for another 10 minutes and moaned and groaned after the Maharaja's instructions, and rolled and writhed, and finally was admitted to the second degree